Thanks everybody for joining us today for Workshop Wednesday. Today's series is going to be about spring cleaning. So this is our tips and tricks for the quarter. So again, thank you for joining us. Just some house cleaning. This is our monthly opportunity to connect with our partners about our favorite topic, FleetCommander. Please keep in mind the session is being recorded and it will be shared and posted on our YouTube page for future reference. You'll see some information about that later in the deck as well. So please put your questions in the chat with your name and company, and we'll follow up with you at the end of the slide or directly following the webinar. And then just a quick note, Brian and I are actually joining you all from Cleveland, Ohio. We've been here at the NAFA conference for the last few days. So we've got to see some really exciting things and meet with a lot of our clients and just really enjoy the opportunity to be here and sponsor Top 100 and see quite a few of our clients on that list. So it's been a really great event. And but if volume gets kind of weird or Brian and I fall off, it's because we're here in Cleveland joining y'all remotely. So, but we really value y'all's feedback. So if you could please just take a little quick minute, it's less than 60 seconds. This link here will also be dropped in the chat. Well, we might not drop it in the chat today because we're a little limited, but you'll see it at the end as well. But if you can click on the link or scan the QR code and give us your feedback about the session, we really value that information and want to make sure that we take that feedback and apply it to the future Workshop Wednesdays. So with that being said, the next slide, this is your client success team. We're your partners here at Agile Fleet. I'm Kristen Sonderman. Jen Pearson is our VP, and Brian Hall's my other counterpart. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be your advocate, strategic partners, and your fleet industry resources. But let's not linger on us. Let's flip this over. Brian actually has an awesome guy that he gets to introduce. So here we go.
So the man, the myth, and the legend, Phelps Rogovoy. Can't wait to see you your presentation. But before we start, Phelps, this is a surprise. We've been doing a rapid fire questions with everybody that's come on Workshop Wednesdays. So I'm going to hit you with a few questions here. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. All right. Apple or Android?
Apple, of course.
Apple, of course. All right. Let's say you can only root for one team for the rest of your life. We going with the Salisbury Seagulls or the Philadelphia Eagles?
That's easy. Eagles.
Eagles. All right. First car.
Honda Civic hatchback, 1981.
Classic. Very good. I think
Kremlin green.
I think Alexa said she had the same thing. And favorite thing to collect?
Good question. It used to be baseball cards when I was a kid, so I'll go with that.
Baseball, very good. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to the presentation, Phelps.
Great. Geez, I didn't know Brian was going to catch me with all these questions and catch me off guard, but well, great. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. Client Success asked me to speak at this week's Workshop Wednesday, and I was thinking about some of the things we could do, and what's better than spring, right? Spring cleaning, time to clean out the closets, the garage, right? So my wife's definitely after me to do that. But a lot of times on the implementation side, we the onboarding, we get you set up, we get the site set up, and sometimes things are there, but things change over the years. So this gives us a really good opportunity to kind of go back, see what's set up on your site, and just kind of talk about some things that you might want to revisit and just make sure it's still relevant. Okay, so there's basically 5 different areas that we're going to hit here. First, we're going to start with refresh layouts. So just looking at kind of your welcome text, the information pages, help information, and kind of like the emails. And then also we've got some forms in the system that may have changed. So your reservation forms, the user registration, my policy. And then looking at the dashboard, so there's some things there that are going to kind of be indicators to tell us if maybe we need to make some adjustments. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the dashboard settings, and then just kind of tidying up operations. So any hours of operation changes that have occurred, how holidays behave in the system, your billing rates, and then finally our shake out the digital dust, which is kind of cleaning up the users and the assets. So that's the areas that we're going to hit today. So let's start with the layouts. And the first thing we're just going to talk about here is the welcome screen. So all of you have logged into FleetCommander. This is kind of the first screen that everybody sees. And a lot of customers leave this, kind of static. Other clients actually put information up about like upcoming driver training, or maybe changes to moves in the parking lot, things like that, organizational type things. So take a look at this. Some people do put phone numbers, contact information, so just take a look at that page and make sure that it's still relevant. If you need to make any changes, you can do that by going to configure enterprise settings, the layout tab, and clicking on the welcome page. And what you'll see there is basically all the layouts, and I'm sure several of you are familiar with this, but you just want to make sure you click on the right link. So this is for welcome text. You're going to scroll down, make sure you scroll down because the edit window is at the bottom of the page. And then you can change the title of the page. We've got what we call a WYSIWYG tool, which is just fancy word for all these buttons that make things bold and italicized. You can put in images and save it. So this is where you can kind of modify the look and feel of the page. And you can do this for some of the other pages I'll show you. As I go through the presentation today, you'll notice that there is a QR code in the upper right-hand corner. This is a link back to our some of the other workshop Wednesdays and some of our videos that we have in the knowledge base as well. So if you want a deeper dive into some of these areas, we put links in here. You can either click on it or you can scan it with your phone. And you'll see that on kind of each of the pages as we navigate through here. So you will get this deck, so you'll have an opportunity to do that after the fact. So we talked about the welcome page, but there's also the information links that are available to your driver. So you'll see that here in the lower left corner. And we just want to make sure that you kind of review each of these and make sure that the data is current and accurate. Okay. The other thing is that you can actually we can actually remove or rename some of these. So if there's anything that you want to rename, you don't like the name of it, you can reach out to our support team and we can assist you with that. We can also reorder these if you want. But just an example there, like terms of use, that might not be something that you use and you want to put in a map of basically all the EV stations that are in the area that someone could charge at. Right, so we could change that to EV charging map, and then you could put a map in there as well. So just kind of think, differently about those links as you kind of go through and validate the information. All right, the policy link is actually broken out from that layout page, and the reason that we do that is because you can basically enforce policy and ensure people read it and accept it the first time that they log in, and then at whatever frequency you want to. But do definitely want you to go into the enterprise settings to the policy tab. You can also click on the policy link and just review that, make sure it's still current. A lot of times we see policy has changed and people forgot to update this. We had a lot of folks during the pandemic actually update this about cleaning procedures. And so just make sure that when you go in there, you just review it and make sure that it's current and accurate. All right, the document links just gives us the opportunity to provide documents that our customers can go in and download, right? So your drivers can gain access to that. And, click on the link. You can actually remove these or edit them as well. But, just open those up, make sure they're still current and accurate, right? And make sure that the information that you're providing are things that you want your clients to see. All right, so we have help text that's available throughout the application. And as I mentioned, a lot of times we set up the help text to kind of give a little bit more details on what what the person logging, what your user should be doing. The first link here is actually to our login screen. So a lot of folks have single sign-on integration with us. So either with their different authentication. If that's the case, you wouldn't even see the screen. But if you have, excuse me, if you happen to be using the FleetCommander login page, there could be custom text up here. So just make sure that that's accurate. And then also, if there's something that you'd want to make available there, you can also go in and edit that. So this is underneath the enterprise settings under the layout tab, and you just click on login help text. All right, after you look at that, you can click on the make reservation link here. And at the top of the page, we can put custom text to kind of guide your, kind of your requesters through the process, right? So by default, there's not anything in here, but there may be text that you put in at a time period to kind of help guide people through. So just take a look at that, make sure that it's still relevant. Or if you didn't know it was available, you can go in there and actually add text to that area. Okay, so this is going to be also underneath the enterprise settings. Okay, so that same kind of link that we showed before, just click on the make reservation help text. All right, we also have help text available for usage types, and this is a highly used area, especially when people want to describe what the usage type means. Maybe they have an out of town versus a local usage type, and they want to say, hey, out of town is actually anything that's over X number of miles, right? So just take a look at this because you may have added additional usage types that people can access from when you first set up the system. Or, you may have changed basically what that long term is, right? Maybe it's no longer 70 miles, it's 100 or 150 miles. So just take a look on that page, make sure that the information is accurate. And once again, you can go to the Enterprise Settings Layout tab to make any adjustments that you need. Okay, now everything I showed you prior was underneath Enterprise Settings. This you'll see here, we have underlined, it says Site Settings, because now we're moving to site level kind of permissions for layout. So when you advance off of the usage type page and you get to this page, this is actually the make reservation page. And this can be actually customized per site. And so you'll want to just make sure if you want to put any text at the top or change any text that you click on site settings, layout, and it's going to be the make reservation help text reservation form. So this is at the top of the page. We also have at the bottom of the page an area that you can put information. You can change the comments field. So sometimes people are like, hey, list all the drivers going on this trip, right? So if the comments description isn't accurate to what you want to collect in that field, you can go into that site setting layout tab and make that change. Just click on make reservation comment description. Okay, so we've got several emails in the system, and a lot of the emails can be customized. Once again, this is something that usually gets set up when you guys kind of set up your site, you set it, kind of forget it, right? But take a look at those emails. This is the welcome email. This is the one big email at the enterprise level setting. So this is, you send this through the user profile. So this is what goes out. So just, you can even test this. You just go into your profile in FleetCommander, hit welcome email, and you'll get sent a copy of it and you can see what it looks like. If it looks fine, you can leave it alone. If you need to make any changes, you can do that underneath enterprise settings, layout tab, welcome email text. All right, so you just click on that link, and once again, you can go in here, you can change the subject, and you can change what it looks like. You can do plain text or HTML, and we've got some really good videos here on more details and tips and tricks on how to kind of do advanced email configuration, troubleshooting, and also setup. All right, the reservation emails that come out through the system are going to be done at the site level because each individual site, might have some different information that you need to tell the customer, maybe about how to get into the parking garage or hours of operation, things like that. So if you need to change any of the reservation emails, you can do that. This is the site setting level layout tab. So you want to go in there and you can go check text. If you want to make a test reservation, you can do that as well. But you could simply go down there, look at the text, and just make sure that everything is accurate and current. All right. As we mentioned, we do have these videos as well. So the layout is very similar to the one that at the enterprise level for the welcome email. So you can come in here and just click on the link, modify the text, and then just go ahead and save it. All right, polish your forms. So, I had you kind of look at the help text that may have been put there, but we also want to look at the fields that are on the reservation form. Okay, and this can be different because some of you have multiple sites, multiple usage types, and the reservation form can actually be set up differently for each of those. So you can, have your long distance at this site be different from another site that's long distance. Okay, or your short distance or local. So depending upon your usage types, you just want to go in there and make sure that they match what you're hoping to accomplish. All right. A lot of times it's billing information or information about where they're going, destination, purpose of trip, but just make sure that everything's accurate and specific to that usage type. So you can go in, you can actually make changes to any of these fields if you find something that you don't like. You can also add something as well if there's something that you're like, oh, I didn't realize that wasn't on there. Or, we can now capture this. So the way that you do that is you actually go under configure site settings, the reservation tab, and then there's a custom fields sub tab that you just click on. And there's an option to make things either requested or required. Requested means it's there, it's available, but required, they actually have to fill that out before they advance on the page. Okay. So you can go in there and click it on and off. And as I mentioned, it is done by usage type in there. So very flexible. But if you need to make any changes, you can go into that area. All right, the user forms. So user registration form. Some people actually have their users register into the site of FleetCommander. We'll talk about other ways to get users in later in the presentation. But if you do use the user registration form, I do recommend that you click on the link. By default, it's called Sign Up Now. Okay, but as I mentioned before, you can relabel these. So there may be a chance that's relabeled like user registration or click here to register, something like that. But it's typically at the bottom. I've seen some people move it up higher in the list, but click on that, go through the form and make sure that you have the appropriate fields. Okay. And if there's anything that we need to change, you can do that, but just make sure that you are collecting everything that you need to on that user registration form. Along with that too, we have a my profile tab. So this is where people can actually go in later after they, register, they're in the system, and they might, need to adjust what department they're with, their account number, supervisor information. So go in there, just click on my profile, look at the, the fields that are being collected and make sure that, they're appropriate ones. We can make them read only too, so that they can't change them. But the most important thing is that we have the right fields there and they can edit what they're supposed to. So to change any of this, you just go to Configure Enterprise Settings, User tab, Configurable Fields, and what you'll see is these different sections. The top part is for your admin view, what you would see, but the lower two sections here are for that My Profile section and the user registration form. So you do have the option to not show it, make it read only, make it editable where they can make changes, or make it a required field. All right, dashboard reset. So everybody's familiar with the dashboard, but this area down here in the lower left really tells us a lot. This is the motor pool activity area. So what we're looking for there is anything that looks out of sorts. The biggest thing is if there's a significantly high number, right, that tells us that something's going on. And you know, I've seen sites before where people have a really high number there and they don't realize why. But it's really easy to correct that, and we'll talk through each of these. All right, the first one here is late for pickup. So, you know, why would we see a whole bunch of late for pickups? My screen only has one, which is good. But if you've got this in the hundreds, right, or even like 50 or 60, you know, why do we have so many people late picking up? Well, a lot of times that's because the cancellation is manual. The customer doesn't have the auto cancellation feature turned on, okay? Because the system won't automatically cancel that reservation unless you turn that on. So if you see a high number there, you might want to consider doing the auto cancellation. You do that by going to Configure Site Settings Reservation tab, and there's an automation area. You'll see here on my screen, this is turned on, and you can actually set the frequency. So after 120 minutes, 2 hours, it'll automatically cancel that reservation in this site. All right, so that's something that you can turn on if it's not turned on already. If you're not quite comfortable with the auto cancel for some reason, we do have a reservation cancellation tool. So you can go in here, you can run this tool, and you can kind of do a mass cancellation to get rid of all those. So especially if you have ones that are like from the previous year or months ago, you definitely want to clear that stuff out. So auto cancel will do it for you. If you don't like that option, we have the reservation cancellation tool, which will help you get that number down. Next thing we have here is late for return, right? So if this is a high number or if it never goes down, you know, ultimately we should only have a few like late for returns, right? People are returning late from their trips. So when you click on the link, you want to take a look at the dates. And if these dates are in the past, right? So you can see on my screen, these are all from 2025, right? So these were never dispatched in properly. So that was either through the key box or through the system. So we want to get those cleaned up, and this can also impact reservations. So if you've had a situation where you're like, I just don't understand why I can't get vehicle number 6 to be assigned to another reservation, it may be because it thinks it's still dispatched out. So that can kind of impact things. So go in there, check your late for returns. I'd recommend dispatching those in, and you can actually use the scheduled return date and time, because you're probably not going to know what the actual time was, right? Especially if it was from a year ago. So just do the actual time when they said they were going to return it, as long as you have the keys back, of course. And then that'll kind of clear out the late for returns there. All right, inspection and prep. So these are triggered typically at the end of a reservation, or there can be a designated interval cycle. All right. And if your numbers are high, these are not getting cleared out. So you know, a lot of times we see sometimes people are like, yeah, I want to do prep, or yeah, I want to do inspection. But if they don't stay on top of it and they decide they want to stop using it, never turn it off, they can see like hundreds, you know, maybe could be thousands of these actually records in there. So, you know, if you're not performing that, we probably want to turn it off, okay? And if you are, we just want to make sure that we're marking those done. And even if they're not completed, just say it wasn't completed to kind of keep those records down. So the key thing there is if you do decide to use inspection or prep, you need to make sure someone's checking the status of those. All right, so inspection and prep plans can be configured. You go to configure vehicle inspection plans and prep plans. The plans can be set up there, but the actual you know, frequency and whether it's turned on or off is actually under usage type. So you'll go to configure usage type. So it's by your individual usage type. So you'll need to click into the usage type, and then you can see whether it's enabled or not. And if you decide that it's something that you no longer want to do, just make sure you turn it off. You can just hit the checkbox there for enable or prep and turn it on or off. Okay, and that'll stop the records from accruing if you do want to do that. All right, also on the dashboard, there's filters. So throughout FleetCommander, the management interfaces that you guys use every day, you always see the default versus filter. And I just wanted to bring this up because I've seen this a couple times. But you can click on this little funnel icon, and sometimes people hit save default, which is great. But save default holds that filter forever until you hit clear default. Okay, so it's going to hold it in place where a filter is a one-time application. If you go off of the page and come back, the filter gets wiped. So why that's important is you may have filtered out, you may have like 8 different sites and you pick 2 to look at one day and you hit save defaults and you're like, why aren't my other sites showing up on the dashboard? So if you have a situation like that, I would just say come in here, click on the little funnel icon, and you could hit clear defaults if you want to remove everything, return it back to normal. And then if there are certain filters, like maybe you do have 8 sites, but you're only concerned about the one, you could pick the one, hit save defaults, and then your view will change to that one site. Okay, so there's just something else to check there. All right, tidying up operations. So just a few things here. Once again, when we do kind of first get you onboarded, we talk about, your hours of operation, as days of the week. And sometimes there's limitations. You can only get into the building certain hours, right? Or you don't want to operate on weekends. And then what happens is sometimes people say, you know what, we have key control now. We want to do 24/7. So I would just advise kind of going back in here, taking a look at the hours of operation. This is also done per site. So, if there are restrictions at one site, you can set it up that way for that site. Maybe another site, it can be 24/7, but just go through, make sure that the hours of operation that you have are fine. If it's 24/7, that's what you had before, that you can just leave it alone. If you do need to restrict times, you do have the availability to do that in this interface here, okay? And once again, we do kind of have this jumpstart video out on the knowledge base that you can reference as well. All right, holidays. So some folks use holidays. They don't want people to get a vehicle on a holiday. You can actually pick up prior and return after, but sometimes people don't want people actually coming in and grabbing the vehicle on a holiday. So in order to prevent that, we can create a holiday in the system, all right? The one thing I'll say is a lot of times holidays get added at the front and people may forget that they have to add them each year. Okay, so you can see my example here is from 2024 and I forgot to add the holidays from 2025, 2026, so people could actually make a reservation on those days. So if that's something that you're concerned about, just make sure that you go in, check your holidays and make sure that you're getting them added, right? And holidays are very specific for your organization. So just make sure that it follows the list if there's something you need to do there. You can also reduce the hours of operation on a holiday. So if there's a certain holiday, certain day of the week where you said, hey, we want to operate for 4 hours, you can also do that in here as well. Okay, billing rate. So this one's a little bit tricky. And the reason I say that is within FleetCommander, if you are doing billing, that means that you have a billing algorithm in place. Okay, so we have 5 that you can use out of the box, and then we've got several that are very custom for the organization. Okay, for your organization. So with that being said, I did just want to call that out. So it's going to calculate those charges based on whatever your billing rule set is. Okay. Now, if you have that in place, great, and you probably already have rates there. But I want to bring this up because you do have the ability to change these rates. Okay, so if you are billing an example on the screen, per hour and per day, you can have a value in there. Okay. Now, obviously, like gas prices going up recently, things like that, you may want to consider adjusting your billing rates. So you can come in here, you can adjust the billing rates, and those new rates will reflect on any reservation that hasn't been completed. All right, so it'll start on anything that's dispatched out, and then all new reservations will get those rates after that. So if you do need to make a change or review those, you need to go to configure site settings and then go to the billing tab. Okay. Now this is site specific, so you need to go into each of your sites and review those. All right. So shake out the digital dust. So what we want to do there is just take a look, starting with our users. Okay. You can use manage users to view your users too, but I just put a recommendation here to use the user detail extra report and put this into an Excel format, because what that does is it allows you to see it, in a spreadsheet. You can filter, move it around, do whatever you need to do. But you just want to check, make sure that your users are up to date, nothing's out of whack, right? And then we can look to see if there's any user data that needs to be cleaned up. With that said, we actually have a lot of folks use this already, but I just want to throw this out there. We have an API that can be used, and what the API allows us to do is basically to sync data within your organization. So typically, within your directories, you can give us information. Maybe it's approved drivers, or maybe it's anybody that's a university or organization employee, county employee, that type of thing. So a lot of people have this in place. We have documentation to kind of support that. And basically what it does is that you can use this to schedule updates to your users at whatever frequency you'd like. Typically it's nightly or weekly. And what this does is just eliminate the errors that occur when entering users manually. Okay, so it's something that you don't have to maintain. You don't have to have users fill out the user registration form that I showed earlier. So just wanted to call that out here too. Some people are also on, there was we used to use, before we had the API really open, we had these VB scripts that we used to put together for folks, and that flows data, which is great, but at some point Microsoft's gonna no longer support that, so we want to try to get as many people over to the API as possible. So if you have any questions on that, you can reach out to your client success rep and they can get you pointed in the right direction. All right, vehicles, so same thing. Like a lot of people are really good about, disabling their vehicles when they're done with them in FleetCommander. But you can just check here, go through the assets. An easy way to do that is the asset data dump report. So you can run this report and just kind of look, make sure, the statuses are correct. If there's any information that's wrong that needs to be corrected, you can do that as well. Once again, you're always welcome to do this from the management interface, manage vehicles, and look at it there. Just sometimes it's easier when you're looking at a big data set to get it out in Excel and make any adjustments that you need to there. So, okay. So I covered a lot there. There's a lot of links that are embedded in there. So if you guys want to do a deeper dive, once again, you can click on the link or you can scan it. I will warn you, the workshop Wednesdays are probably about as long as this one, where the jumpstart videos are probably 7 minutes or less. So they're kind of more concise, but if there's any of those areas you want to dig in and kind of get more detail, and our team has done a really good job about doing a deep dive and giving some additional tips and tricks in there, so feel free to do that. But review your site, see what's there, kind of get it cleaned up and make sure we're giving accurate information. So with that, that's kind of the final sweep. I'm going to turn it back to Kristen to tell you about some things that we're doing here in CS.
Yeah, thank you, Phelps. I really appreciate you and doing just a nice spring clean overview of things that folks could be doing, and love the wrap-up slide. final sweep. So thank you again for you and your team for helping present that information. So we have as we've mentioned several times, and as Phelps had pinged on a lot of these pages, we have our Workshop Wednesday playlist. So on this page, there's the QR code, but that's also a clickable link. If you're on your computer and you just want to click on it, you can access it that way. But the Workshop Wednesday playlist is our YouTube channel that lists all of the Workshop Wednesdays that we have previously had out there. So again, you can reference those at different portions through the slide deck, and you can also just scan the QR code or click on it to get the full list of all of the that we have released previously for our Workshop Wednesdays. And then just a reminder on our cadence. So, we kicked off at the beginning of this calendar year a new cadence for our Workshop Wednesdays. On a quarterly basis, we're going to be focusing on 3 different types of topics. This session was our best practices session. The next session that's going to be in May is our partner spotlight. So Brian and I are really excited. We get to speak with a longtime client of ours, Sammy at UTK. So it'll be really interesting to get to spotlight some of the things that they've done, how their software has helped their institution, and the stuff that they're doing for future growth and meeting their fleet goals. So we get to do that next month. And then we also focus on system enhancements and new release highlights. So that's the 3rd session that we have each quarter. So this is the schedule that we have. And just a reminder, these are on the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm actually in that time zone right now. Usually I'm not. So it's exciting. You can go ahead and flip for me, Phelps. Also, additional resources that we have available to you. Phelps and John did a really amazing job through the content today of highlighting the stuff that we have available. But again, these are the links for a lot of those same resources. So we've got the link here for the Workshop Wednesdays. We have the link for our online resources where we have our webinars, case studies, white papers, and some other content. And then the general link for our FC Drive, which is where our training material and manuals are located. And again, Phelps linked you to a lot of those throughout the slide deck that he just presented, but this is the landing page for that content as well. And then some fun, exciting stuff that we have upcoming. So as you guys know, we do our user conference every year, and we have nailed down our location for Command 2026. So we've got our client Cap AZ in Arizona will be hosting us. And so we will be in Glendale, Arizona. We are making it out west. The dates are going to be November 3rd through 5th this year. And again, the user conference is just a really great opportunity for folks to come and hear about what we've got going on in the software, what's coming up, and then get a chance to meet and connect with other users of the software and just see what people are doing, what's going on. And I think more importantly, network with other fleet managers and just to have that camaraderie. So it's a really great event. We love seeing everybody out there. So please come and join us. We've got the registration link here for our registration page. And as details roll out and agenda items get prepared, the content on that page will continue to get updated as well. And then we are traveling. So as Brian and I said at the beginning of the call, we're actually in Cleveland right now at NAFA. There are a couple more events that we will be at this year. We're going to be at GFX and also NASA. So if you're going to be at these events, or if there are any other events that you may be attending, please let us know so that the team can make sure that we find you and say hi and get a few minutes to talk to you. And then if there's some events that you're going to be at that we don't have listed, we'd like to know about those too as possible opportunities for us to consider in the future. And then last but not least, our Agile Fleet team. Thank you again for joining us. We really love getting the opportunity to talk about our software, what it can do to help you with your fleet, have other folks from our team jump on and join with sharing that information. This is, again, how you can get a hold of us. Our client success team mailbox is cs@agilefleet.com. And our wonderful tech support team. Phelps, I've heard so many amazing things about the support team this week while we have been here at Command. It doesn't, no matter where we go, that's all we always hear about how amazing the support team is. But for those of you that need to get a hold of support, this is their email address and their phone number, and they can be contacted Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. And I think, click one more. I think that's all the content. So yeah, thanks for joining us. If you guys have any questions about any of the material that was covered, please reach out to me, Brian or Jen. We're here to help. If there's something that you saw that you're not using, we would love the opportunity to share that feature with you and talk to you a little bit more about it. And then if you have any suggestions, recommendations on content or things that you guys would like to see, you can email us, you can drop it in the chat, fill out the survey and tell us that way. But we just really appreciate you guys and the opportunity to speak with you and present this information. And if you guys have any questions, let us know. On that note, Phelps, thanks again. And
Thanks,
talk to
everyone.
everybody soon.